Hello, hope you're safe and well. It's Craig from Sweet Discreet. Welcome back to the channel. Today is a special day. We're going to go through the video and how to fit a membrane panel to a DX7 Mark I that we've designed and made in-house. And it even includes the little cartridge slot. Of course, make sure you've got yourself a cup of coffee, and I'm not sponsored in any way, shape or form. So, on with things now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get rid of the old. I've got here a Mark I panel replacement and an original DX7 in front. We're going to go for close-ups of everything, but the real messy job of getting rid of the old panel is what I'm doing outside. I'm in the lovely sort of winter in England, if you're around the world, and I hope you're safe wherever you are. And I hope this isn't too boring, but the hard bit's got to go first. I'm going to do this now. I'm going to strip off this old panel, put the new panel on, and I'll try and get through it as quick as possible because it's going to be boring. What I've got is a nice clean cloth and some sticky stuff remover, because once you remove the old panel you're going to have a lot of sticky residue to get through. Alright, anyway, on with the show. Okay, so this is our replacement. You can see how accurate it is. I'll put it above it. Some sections have been already removed from this particular DX7, but rest assured it's pretty spot on. And it has all the 3M cutouts, everything all on the reverse. So we're out in the cold. This little cartridge slot. That's just in case, because the colours are so close, but once you take out a cartridge, this little flat part here, you can actually have that, and it's adhesive as well. So we've thought of everything, hopefully, and I hope you enjoy it. And here with the good bit, live TV and all that, I'm going to start stripping. So I'm not going to start stripping myself, by the way, so all get excited. We'll start with this, and this is not easy. So we're just going to take as much time as we can to get rid of this old stuff. I would allow quite a bit of time for this because it's very tedious, and this is why I'm outside as well. Probably better to get under the buttons of some sort. You can see the switches from the membrane underneath. Try not to get any of the little bits because it's so dried up and brittle, this panel. It could drop down, so be very careful that you don't do that, because what you don't want it to do is snag your buttons when you've nicely put on your new panel and then you find out your buttons don't work. So I would always see whatever's in your hand stays in your hand. And I'm using a nice back pocket to put all these little tiny bits in. We'll speed all this a little bit up from now. In fact, it's time to go inside. I think this is actually a bit cold out here, so this is becoming a little bit more difficult because of the brittleness. So, yeah, don't try this at home, kids. Okay. So I decided to come inside, a lot better to be fair, and sparing no expense with this video, of course. We've even got special effects, I've got flashing lights, I've got everything. So I'm in the kitchen. We're still on lockdown ourselves, full lockdown in the UK. I hope you are safe wherever you are, and it's crazy that I'm even doing a video and doing it like this from home, but we're doing the best we can. So, what I'm going to do, and this is what I suggest everybody does first. I got a little bit excited and started stripping outside, but that's because part of the panel's already been removed. The first thing to do when you get this panel is to literally just overlay it. just sit. Okay, now if you bring it, there's this lip here, if you bring it so it just sits, you'll feel around the screen. Okay, you'll feel the bottom, the top, and then just visually by eye, just make sure you've got sort of an even gap, and then check your other gaps. The panel won't be stuck down at this stage, so of course there's still a little tiny bit of give. So if you feel or find that you're slightly out, I won't be too concerned. But as long as you look neat around these. I have found with a couple of DX7s, this here, around the data and around the volume, the little plastic part is slightly up or slightly down on some, depends. Same with the cartridge surround. But the screen is always where the screen is. Or I'd like to think it is anyway. So we're talking fractions here, we're not talking loads, but if you find that there's slight differences, you can't really get around that, but it will fit fine. And just feel all your switches, all your buttons that will of course work. You'll be going through your old panel at the same time, but you can feel how they all will work. And of course when the new panel's on, because it's got a degree of flexibility to it, and it's completely brand new and it's not brittle, it'll be just easier to work with, easier to clean. I mean, it's a no-brainer in itself as well, because once it's fitted to the synth itself, it's going to add value. It's certainly for the value of the panel itself, because who wouldn't buy a synth that looks like this and pay £55 more for it than one that's kind of looking like that? And to be honest, this was pretty mint. The panel was as good as this section here, and this section here, it was here and here as well. There was no cracking or anything, but I obviously decided to cut these pieces out to start the manufacturing process and everything else that I've been doing. But it cracked and it crumbled and it split as soon as I started to move it, and it would have needed something soon. I mean, it just would. So these panels are not necessarily for what's needed now, it could be for the future. Right, so once you know it's fine, it's in shape, you just need to get that old panel off. And we'll return to that later on. I'm sorry that I'm only doing this on my own, so I haven't got different camera angles going, but we can try and do a couple of different camera angles when I'm actually fitting it. Okay? So what I've done is I've put some sticky stuff remover on just the parts that I can see that have had the panel come off, and just try to get little bits under, because it is on really well and fast. I mean, Yamaha really made this synth well. I used to think this was a cheap synth, to be fair, but looking back, it was about $2,000 when they came out. That's back in 1983. Don't quote me on the exact price, but it's around that. And I do know that things like Oberheim or OB8s and things like that, or OBXAs, were dearer and PPGs, but this was no way a cheap synth. And who was to know at the time it was to kill off pretty much analog in one blow. But what I'm doing as a technique is I'm just getting a Stanley knife under, trying not to scratch the panel, and if you just get it under a bit, you can then get your fingers under and start to work at it. But if you need to get any more, I don't advise putting it direct on the panel, so I'm putting it on a bit of a cloth first, give it a bit of a wipe. I'm using this, which is sticky stuff remover from Betterware. I'm sure there are other products. Yeah, I've got a good piece here now. I'll probably allow a good hour or so for this. See, look, that's what it's like, your panel. It's so about to go. Be very, very careful when you move the screen, of course. Just twist and lift is a sort of technique when you're right close to it. Just don't want to scratch your screen, do you? It's more laborious than difficult. I mean, anybody could do this at home. No technical knowledge needed. It's just having the confidence that you've got something to replace it with, because you'd never do this without that. In the 80s, of course, they became all the rage, these membrane pop panel buttons, and knobs went. And then look at us now, 2021, all we want is knobs. You can just take these off, of course. They're not needed to be off. Just helps for a little bit more maneuverability around it. To get into these corners, you don't do these screws. You just try and get it flipped up so you can get to the side. If you get stuck, that is. So I think we're going to be alright with this one. It's coming off okay. Like I say, I'd allow probably... I'd allow about an hour to strip it. I suppose it depends on where the synth's been living, how hard and fast that's on, how cracked your panel is. But this won't come off in one, it just breaks up. Everything breaks up. And that's the problem with membranes. They're a great idea at the time, but they do not last. A pair of small pliers is a really good idea. Get a little bit of sort of purchase on any of the panel, you can just rip it and get a proper hard grip on it and you should be alright. Got a little plastic washer. And there's one on the back, by the way, to be able to tilt the top on the DX7. This knife, I'm going to twist it rather than cutting through it, because if you go through the panel and split it, it'll be just hard to pull, like I just did then. Pliers come in, because you can just, if you didn't split it like I did, you might just get it all in one, but I just made it a little bit more harder for myself. It's all part of the fun. This side came out a little bit better, but I managed to get a bit of a piece here. I'm going to fast forward now, because I think you get the gist of the idea, don't you? Get all this stuff off, get your glue off, and I'll see you back in a few minutes. So this is what a DX7 Mark I looks like when it's naked. All this glue residue will have to be removed. And I've got the sticky stuff remover to do so. Aha! I just found a bit that wasn't taken off. So I'll get that off anyway. Clean this completely, because it has to be completely straight and flat. Otherwise you'll have lumps under your new panel. And then we get to the fun stuff. Okay. No, you're not looking at it completed. What you are looking at though, is it ready to be completed. So as you can see, I've cut some tape. I've used insulation tape. You can use sellotape, you can use anything you want, it's really going to stick. but you want to be able to get it off as well quite easily. So the reason is because if I now take this off, it's settled in for the night, I think. Okay, no. Right. Well, there is the cleaned panel, completely bone dry. It is clean. I have rubbed a little bit too hard in some places and it's worn off. There's the odd little scratch. But of course this panel goes on for the next 35, 40 years, so you know, I'm not to be worried about that. Everything's okay, everything's still working, tested. So what I'm going to do now is just remind you that there's this glue on the back and it peels. So the method, locate it around the screen again, make sure you're happy with where it goes, let it sit on this bottom. So if you need to pull it down for reference, sorry I've got to go in front of the camera, and I am really sorry that this is a bit of an amateur video in a kitchen by me. I'd much rather be doing a much more professional job, but the main thing is I want to get this out. The panels have shipped today, and I don't want to disappoint any of my customers that they haven't got a panel video to watch. And I'm sure, to be fair, that you're going to know how to do it, but this always helps. Someone who's done it before, and I've done it several times now, and it's not just DX7s, the K3 of course, you're gonna get a little bit of guidance with somebody who's, you know, fallen and tripped in front of you. So this hopefully is going to help, and this is what we do. I'm happy with where that sits. Our buttons are all fine. I have no LED locator points on this, so I'm just literally going for exactly where I want it to sit with the screen, the cutouts there and there. So what I'm going to do is literally hold it firm and tape it. You can do different angles if you want. You want to basically make sure that you're taping it in situ, but you're only doing this bottom half. All the reasons why will hopefully become apparent in a moment. Again, sorry for leaning in front of the camera, but doing this and filming at the same time is not the easiest thing in the world. Okay, one more just for good measure, sorry. Bottom there. Okay, why have I done that? Because now I know that's in place, I know this is in place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand on here and I'm going to lift this corner. Get it. That's it. Make sure it's flat all around that screen. If you've got it correct at the screen here, and you've got your hand on it here, holding it flat, then you know that it's all in place. So what you do is pull that back, you literally peel this off, and then you cut it, and then you can put that back down correct, and then it's a simple case of just unpeeling that, peel it back, pull that off, and down she goes. Okay, I'm going to do that next. Now, I know I said that we had special effects, but I've switched the black tape to clear. So that's a good one. That I don't know if I'm going to get an award for that, but it's there. But actually, the real reason is I completely messed up the one I fitted. So this is the second, well, actually many fitted test ones, but the second proper fit. And the reason that I'm doing it again, and of course doing it from this angle so you can see, is when you hold here and everything's secured down, which I'm going to go over again anyway so you can see it, and you're peeling this back, make sure you're cutting across a whole surface of the backing, because where cutouts, where buttons are, like here, I'm going to be cutting little bits. And there was two things that happened. I couldn't get it off because it was all bitty, and I thought I'd got all of it off. But in the frustration, I creased the panel and also left a tiny bit underneath. So I know I've sort of said it and said it and said it. You must have a clean panel. You must check. I'm fortunate I've got stock of these. I don't want to waste them, and I certainly don't want to be selling anybody a second one because they've got it wrong. So my mistakes, my pitfalls are really on this video, all bare for you to see, so you don't kind of make them yourself. Well, hopefully you don't anyway. But at the same time, I don't want to get everybody sort of worked up that this is such a difficult thing. It was a very simple mistake, but if I tell you my simple mistakes, you'll probably avoid it yourself. I haven't come across anything else that I made a mistake of, so you know, hopefully that's okay. So what I'm going to do is just make sure that this screen, where I want it, I've got the panels here, just where I want them. That's going to be right. Just laying flat, holding it, just gently coming out to the side, making sure that's there. Right, now I'd be happy with that panel fitting there. So I'm going to make sure I'm securing it. I'm just going to secure it, over the screen area. And this sort of, not really, well, it is sellotape, but it's kind of the clear stuff that's easy peel. So I've just made that reference around that screen so it doesn't move. And also around here, just to make sure as well. If you want to put it on in different angles, like I said before, that's fine. And you see some rippling in here because, of course, the panel's not stuck down. You've got to get that. That irons itself out. So I'm happy that that screen is going to stay there. I'm also happy with the panel. It's going to stay here, and it's going to fit right nicely around that counter wheel. As I said earlier, these are sort of the areas surrounding these kind of, I think, glued on underneath. So there's going to be microfractions putting them on, and I think that's what just makes slight variances. But we are talking mega, and I suppose if you ultimately wanted it 100% perfect, you could always unglue them and just re-glue them in after the fact, but I don't think that's necessary at all. So I'll just put another couple on because as if you're ironing it, go that direction. Okay. So the next thing is this. I've made it. It's a very simple tool. Basically, it was a broom handle. I've cut it to 7 centimeters, and the panel width here is about 7.15, and it therefore just sits nicely within there. Probably like 7.2 actually. And the reason I've done that is so I can roll this or hold and just do this. It's just going to be useful because your fingers are great and you can push it along, but of course there's always going to be gaps, whereas that's a tool that's simple and effective, and I've just covered it in smooth packing tape so I can literally fit it and use it like that. Okay, so just to run through this technique, everything's in place. You're going to put your hand somewhere secured. That's not going anywhere, but just literally bring this up. You're going to put it to your other hand, not to crease this, just let it bow gently. Peel it back. When you're peeling it back, you want to cut it like an area like there, for instance. You don't have to come all the way back here, it's not necessary. But if you cut it there, okay, so if you come here, peel it back, and you cut it across there, then when it goes down and sticks, you're going to be stuck to roughly about there. You can unpeel this, as long as that's rigid round there, and it's straight with the panel, it's only going to unfold straight using this amazing tool. Yeah, I've always wanted to say that. If you have some decent nails. All this preparation is all going to come to a head and happen in sort of 30-40 seconds. You try not to crease this, whatever you do. Don't hold it too hard or sharp. It's great if you can get somebody else to help you with this, because they can watch things that you might not be looking at and focusing on. I'm obviously doing this on my own. I have done a couple with other people and they are so much easier. So when you get to this stage, I'd probably recommend, you know, so with this, not to crease it. Try not to get your fingers on it either. And it's this bit here, if you can see it, the straight bit that's integral, cut it in the middle of that. Great if you've got sharp scissors as well. Hence another friend would be handy here. Oh dear. These worked before. Gee. Hey. Come on. Well, I've cut it. Just had to go away and get a better pair. But and then when I've cooked it, I've kind of little bit bent the remaining bit back. Now I'll get my roller. And just make sure that it sits over there, sits over there, sits over there. Now it's on, and it's on in its place, and there's no air bubbles because you're using this exact tool. You don't want to crease there, so take all this off now. You don't need it, it's done its job. Sorry, nudge the camera. This will get better. Please support this channel. We're doing all that we can to help restore old synths. Lots and lots of little projects on the go. There's a lot of work going into it. We'd love your support. Please visit our website www.sweetdiscreet.co.uk. There's lots of information on there. We do film scoring, we do music, release tracks, mixing, producing, and sell the odd bit of gear, keyboards and everything like that. So it's good to keep in your bookmark anyway. So if you're a synth nerd just like we are, a gear slut, whatever you want to call it, you'll pretty much love the channel, especially when it gets going a little bit more. So this is the area you've got to watch out for. Bending this back, you just want to get that and pull it up tight so you can get to this. You don't want to bend it, you just want to get this bit off now. That's it. I've got it in its entirety. So, little tool. I like to just do it and then pull it all at once as I go along, if you know what I mean. Shouldn't be any major surprises. is it should just go exactly where it should do. Around the screen you'll just have to use your fingers, because you can't really roll over the screen because it sits proud. Just take your time, that's the main thing. Once you go past the screen, it's plain sailing from there. So I just want to make sure. Little tiny air bubbles. Try and push them out to the side before you carry on. Should be alright. That's okay. And then literally slowly peel and push. Keep it firm. That's it. That's going well. Keep it straight as well, because twisting it is sometimes makes it more difficult because of all the cutouts. It's quite intricate underneath. Just want to make sure it's a bit of a pull it properly. That's it. If you feel like something's not come off properly, just look. It's too late to go on afterwards. And also, if you feel like something's torn and it's not come off properly, again you have to go around this with your fingers. That's it. Et voila! And you can hear all your buttons. This particular DX7 is going to have a little service and get fixed. Number 2, number 18, number 10 are not working at all. So I'll just plug it in just to show you. It's got a nice blue display, this one. The 2 won't work. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 won't work. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18 won't work, and 17. Exactly that it should be. And restore, working, it's flicking to memory protected, internal there, cartridge there, operator select, character, internal, cartridge, space, and then your plus and minus, they're fine. So it's fitted, but some panels are warped because they're just not all straight. Someone might have lent on that, it could have bowed the metal, anything could have happened. So you can't say about a 30 odd year synth that it's all going to be hunky-dory. That's why you've got this little tiny kit. And this is comprised of 25 little different washers. I'll just switch this off a second and unplug it. Safety first. There's your cutout for your cartridge slot. I'm not going to use it, but you know, I've done it just in case other people want to. It never had one on the original, so it's no need, but that's fine. So, and then these, if need be, because this has been unscrewed now, if I open this up, these here are the holders for the button. Now 25 of these. There's your screen. I mentioned a little note on the video before, there's about 1 millimetre of adjustment. If you undo this this and this. It will move slightly up and down. It just helps you if you need to. And then these are the other ones. Now, it's very simple. I don't even need to show you how to do this, but basically with it all switched off, undo these screws, pull the board back, just make sure it doesn't catch on this part here because it just hooks in. Put a washer in between the board and the front panel. There's no point in putting it on the back side, obviously, because you're just achieving nothing. By putting this very thin washer on, it will just bring your buttons down very slightly. When it's all screwed back together, it will be about 1/2 mil lower, and that'll just help your buttons have their normal feel again. But this is fine. This is fine, so it's not needed on this one. So you can do whatever you want with that. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy your panel, and I hope you enjoy lots of fun with the synth itself. We're going to have a lot more panels to come, and we'll see you on the next video. Keep safe. I know you couldn't see anything I was doing underneath here, so just a quick recap. This board, PCB, where the buttons are on, the membrane buttons, that just sits in there as a little groove. I'll show you that little groove there. And then you've got these screws, and these are the ones that I was talking about. You take off, mind that you've got that as a sort of little ring around it to help keep the wiring tidy. Same with this one, but that's also got a connector on it, and this one as well. And then this is the screen. It's 1, 2, 3, and there is a fine adjustment. It's all going to help that you can probably see. That's just my prop. You can't really see it, but there is the glued on area that is your data slider and everything. And inside that, which is your cartridge housing, you'll see it if you took it all off. So yeah, so that's it. So one lovely DX7 panel. Thank you for watching.